Masechta Makos Daf Yud Gimel Abraham Aleph. We're starting from Yud Beis Amid Beis, 3 lines from the bottom. The Mishnah on the bottom. Similarly, we find Reitzech Shagala when they get to the dinner of Reitzech and Imiklot. Reitzech Shagala Imiklot. Without Sancha Ilachabde Reitzech that was exiled to Imiklot. And the people of the city wanted to be mechabed him. He has to say that he is a retzeich and he's not really lechaveh. And if nevertheless Amrulay, they said afal pk, nevertheless we want to respect you, kabel mahed. He could accept their covet, and he doesn't have to be meicha anymore. So you want to like it says in the pasuk said about retzeich, meaning. This is the words of the Retzeyach, that the Retzeyach, meaning that the Retzeyach has to notify with his mouth that he's a Retzeyach. From this lashon, we see that the dibur in itself is enough. Once he was meicha once, then he can already accept the covenant. Mishnah brings a machlekes ma'ilim hoyu sachal alaviyim. The Ari Amiklat, the people that owned the Arei HaMiklat, meaning the Levim, who were the owners of the city, Sachal Levim, meaning the Levim would rent it out to the Arei HaMiklat and they would make money from it. Because the Ratzchim that lived there would have to pay to the Levim Maschar. Those are the words of Rabbi Yehuda. Rabbi Meir says the cities, they couldn't charge any money. Once the Kohen Gadol dies and he returns back to his position. Whatever he had a great position, he goes back to that position. Shahayabab, that he was there before Galus, before he was exiled. Those are the words of Rabbi Meir. He would not return to the position that he was previously there. And he explains over here why wouldn't he return, according to Rabbi Yehuda, since such a takala came to his hand to spill dam naki, so he's no more fit to be in that great position that he was originally. Rav Kahana had said, is only in the 6 cities that were designated for Arei Miklat. Upon them, the Torah says, the word lachem, it says by the 6 cities of Arei Miklat. The Ma'asav lachem, one Tana holds lachem means only for protection, but not to dwell for nothing. Meaning to live there, they would have to pay money. That was Rabbi Yehuda. Rabbi Meir holds that the word lachem implies the chol tzachayim for all their needs, meaning that they wouldn't even have to pay for living expenses for the rentals. But in the 42 cities of the Levim, where it doesn't say the word lachem, according to everybody, even Rabbi Yehuda and Meir, they would charge because it doesn't say the word lachem. I'll step back to Rav Kahana. Really, according to everybody, lachem means including the expenses of the dira, of the place where they live. So what's the machlekes? Machlekes is dafke b'abayim shtayim. Only in the 42 cities that was given to Levim in addition to the 6 Arei Miklat. Like it says, V'aleihem titnu abayim shtayim. In addition to the 6 cities, there were 42 cities. So from this pasuk we learn out, the pasuk is comparing the 42 cities to the 6 Arei Miklat. And in this was machlekes between Rabbi Yehuda and Rabbi Meir. But again, what did they compare? The Rabbi Yehuda Saba, when the pasuk says Aleim Titnu, the kavanah is the 42 cities have a din kehanach, like the 6 cities leklita only for protection, but they were not compared to the 6 cities. The 6 cities of Arei Miklat, the Tzeyach has a schus to live there without payment, but not in the 42 cities. We don't compare it when it comes to the cost of the living. Umar Savar Meir says, no, when the pasuk says Aleim Titnu, in addition to the 6 cities, there's another 42 cities to teach us Kahanach. That it has the din like the 6 cities, that Mahanach, just like these 6 cities, L'chol Tzachayim, that they didn't even have to pay for the place where they dwell. Avhani, so too, the 42 cities, Nami, L'chol Tzachayim, was including the living expense, meaning they're living in the dira, living in the house for free. But in the 6 cities where it was designated for the other mikvah, according to everybody, the 6 cities, they didn't have to pay for the rental of the place where they live, because it doesn't say lachem. It only says lachem. I'm sorry, by the 6 cities it says lachem, and that's why everybody agreed that you didn't have to pay for the schadia. We learned in the Mishnah, he returns to the original position that he was before Golas. Those are the words Rabbi Meir, and Rabbi Yehuda said he wouldn't go to the original position. In the Braisa it says, he should return to his mishpach, and to the achuzah of his father he should return. So the lashon el mishpachta is a miyut. Le mishpachta yushav. He only returns to his mishpacha. But he does not return to the original position that he was before he went to Galus. Since he went down, he fell into a position to become a Eved, so he's no more fit to be in the high position in the Yerusha that he was before. He does return even to the original position that he was before he became a Eved. He turns to the position, meaning that whatever he had in the time, whatever position he had in the time of his father, he inherits that as well. Meaning, like in the time of his father, he's going to have that same position. That's returned to him. The Braisa continues so too by Golis of Arimikla. It says by Yashu. The word Yashu is extra because the pasuk says Shalom Mishpachtai Lalachus Havei. So why does he have to say Yashu? Let him not say the word Yashu. Yashu. When he says the word Yashu, he's coming to include the Retzach that was exiled. Like what does it mean? Also by Goyla that the Braisa says, what are you learning out from Evedivi? So the Gemara said to Tanya, like we learned in the Braisa, it says after the death of the Kohen Gadol, the Retzach returns to the land of his Yerusha, to the land of Yerusha. He returns but he doesn't return to the high position that he was before he was exiled. Then Rabbi Yehuda, those are the words of Rabbi Yehuda. That the Kavanah of the Braisa is that just like Rabbi Yehuda were arguing by Evet Ivri whether he returns to the original position or not, so too the same machlekes applies by Golos. If he was exiled, does he return to the original position that he was before he went to Golos? When the Kohen Gadol dies, and the Tana of the Makkah of it is the Tana of the Braisa Gama Shiva. It says the word Yashav Retzach by Retzach, and it says by Yashuv, and we learn out from Eved Ivri Mehasam from Eved Ivri that Yehuda who says Eved Ivri doesn't return to the original position as before he became Eved. So he learns out with a Kseiya Shabbat that also somebody who gets exiled doesn't go back to the original position that he was before he was before he went to Golos. Rabbeinu holds that Eved Ivri does go back by Eved Ivri to his original position. So we learn out from Eved Ivri for Golos. If somebody was sent to Golos and he comes back after the Kohen Gadol dies, he goes back to the original position that he had before he was in Golos. Hadon Allah, Eila in Hagil, we shall return to you, Perik Elu, Hein Hagil. Zog the Mishnah, Elu, Hein Haloikin. And these are those that get Malchus. He doesn't mean all these cases that the Mishnah will say are the only ones. He's saying all the novelty ones, all the ones that have a Chiddush, are we going to mention that they get Malchus. So the Mishnah starts counting Avedas of which one is Chayiv Kares, and nevertheless he gets Malchus. Somebody who lives with his sister, his father's sister, his mother's sister, and his wife's sister, and his brother's wife, and his uncle's wife, Alanida and Ananida. All these Isuri Arayis, aside from Chiyuv Kadosh, they get also the punishment of Malchus. That's the Chiddush. Now the Mishnah is going to mention Almana of the Isurim, which is the Gemara is going to mention Isurim, which is is only beast is a beast that Isuris, which is only going to be a lav, and nevertheless he gets malchus. Amana l'kein gadol, Amana who lived with a kein gadol, or married a kein gadol, a grush v'chalutz l'kein heter, which is also awesome, but it's a lav. Mamzer is Nesino Yisrael, a Mamzer is or Nesino who marries a Yisrael, Bas Yisrael and Nasl Mamzer, or the daughter of Yisrael who marries a Nasl Mamzer. These are Isur Lavim, in which there is a Kadosh also. Says a woman who's Almana Ugerush, she got widowed, she got married, she got divorced, and married a Kohen Gadol. Chayav Nalav Shnu Shnei Shteimus. He's going to be Chayav for 2 Isurim. But a Isha, which is a Grush V'Chalutza, ain't Chayav Elam Shemach Bavad. A Isha, which is a Grush V'Chalutza, he's only going to be Chayav for 1, because Chalutza is, first of all, it's not mentioned anywhere. That's how he brings a Isha. It says on he only gets 1 set of Malchus versus Almana who married Almana Ugerusha. I'm sorry, Kohen Gadol married Almana Ugerusha. He gets 2 sets. It's 2 separate shemes. Gerusha is the Is of, and because with the gate of Chalutza, it's not written the face in the Torah. It's only learned out from a Yitra of above. Zog the Mishnah Vayta. Now we're going to enumerate again Isuri Kadoshim, which is Chiyuv Malchus, a Tomei that ate Hegdish, V'haba El Hamikdash Tomei, and somebody who entered the base Hamikdash while it was Tomei, V'chachelev V'dam Ben Hisu Pigul, somebody who ate fats, the Isidik fats, blood or leftovers that becomes Asur, any carbon that's left over. If there's man, you're not allowed to eat or Pigul. If he had a mind to eat it longer than the Zman that's required for that carbon, and he eats it, he's chayiv kares, and he gets malchus. The tamei, and somebody who is tari who ate something that's tamei v'asheichet umayle b'achutz, and somebody who slaughters, and he brings the carbon outside the base of mitzvah. Somebody eats comes with us. I can put him somebody who eats. And or does melacha and yem akipurim. These are isurei kares. B'mefatin is Hashem, and somebody who mimics the oil of the shemen hamishcha. And b'mefatin is hakteres, and the same thing. If he mimics the kteres, is a isur kares and malchus. Asal v'shemen hamishcha, and the shemen hamishcha which Moshe Rabbeinu had made. If somebody smears himself with that, it's chayiv kares. And he gets Malchus. Now he's mentioning Chiyuv Malchus Belavim, in which there are no kares. If somebody eats Nevelis or Trevis Shkatz Mashim, so in those cases, Achal Tevel or Maisarishan, or he ate Tevel, which he did not take off Truma. The Maisarishan Shalom and Maisarishan that he didn't take off Truma. He eats that Maisa or Maisasheni or Agdish, or he eats Maisasheni or Agdish. That was not redeemed. It's a law which you're going to be Chayav Malchus as well. These are cases of Isuri Kares. I'm sorry. These are cases of Isuri Kares, which you get Malchus for it. I'm sorry. It's such lavin that there's no Kares. These are cases of lavin which there's no Kares, and he gets Malchus for it. Sagt die Gemara, Chayav Krisis Katani. The Tana learned to be negated to Malchus together with Krisis. Chayav Mrs. Bezdin, Loy Katani. But when it comes to Chayav Mrs. Bezdin, we did not learn that it's going to be together with Mrs. Bezdin Malchus. Masnis Mami, who's our Mishnah following? Says, you might Rabbi Akiva, it follows Rabbi Akiva. The Tana that we learned in Rabbi Isa. Amachloks of Tanoim being is Chayav Krisus Chayav Mrs. Bezdin, whether it's Krisus or Mrs. Bezdin. Yesh the Mechlal Malkus Habayim. They also get, in addition, the Malkus Habayim. Those are the words Rabbi Yishmael back. Chayav Krisus. Yesh the Mechlal Malkus. Chayav Krisus get, in addition to Krisus, Malkus Habayim. Why? Because it's not it's not two punishments for one Aveda, which you're not supposed to get two punishments for one Aveda. Why is it not two punishments? Because the Kaddish is possible to remove. If he does tshuva, Bezin Shamayel will be meichel him on the punishment of Kaddish. But Chayav Mrs. Bezdin cannot get Malkus Habayim because Avilim also tshuva. Even if he'll do tshuva in Bezin Shabbat meichel lahem, Bezdin Shabbat will not be meichel him on the punishment of Misa. And therefore we say Kimlei B'nei, and he does not get Malkus. Rabbi Yitzchak Haim Vice continues the third shita. All the others, which is Chayav Krisus, B'chlal Hayu, were all included in one pasuk. It says Kol Asher Yas Mikol Ateiv Se'ilav Nichsan Afasis Ois Mikerev Amo. So you have all of them included, all the Chayav Krisus in one Klal Shah pasuk. But Lama Yatzis, why did it say a pasuk and take out Kodesh B'Achisei as a, which is also Arayis? Why did he have to separate individually B'Negei to Kodesh B'Achisei? Where do we find Kodesh B'Achisei? It says V'ish Asher Yikach Es Achisei V'Nichsul Eina B'nei Yamam. Why do we have to say that? L'cheda, we can learn it out from the general pasuk that we just said. For the Gemara, so only to teach us L'Doina B'Kodesh V'Lei B'Malkus. That's why the Torah wrote it a second time, just like one who lives with his sister is Chayv Kodesh, that teaches that there isn't any other Einish aside from Kodesh. And since it's called, this is the eighth midah of Shloshas midah is that called of Shai B'Chlal, anything that was already included in the klal, and then they took it out of the klal, like over here by saying the pasuk, a special pasuk for Achisei. So we learn out from the prat for the whole klal, that just like by the prat, you're going to say he only gets Kodesh and not the Malkus. So too for all Arayis, all the punishments of Kodesh is only going to be Kodesh and not all the cases of Arayis, which the punishment will be Kodesh. It's only going to be Kodesh and not Malkus. What of my time to Rabbi Yishmael? What is the reason of Rabbi Yishmael that he says you have Chai Malkus on every Lois Hasa Shabbat Torah? The Chsiv, because it says in the Torah, Im Lois Sishber Las, it says Kol Tevi Atri Hazes. It says when they get to Lois Hasa, if you want God to do the mitzvahs of this Torah. Uksiv, and in the passage right after it says V'Yifla Hashem Es Makoscha. It says that Hashem will hit him with Makos Meflois, wondrous Makos. So here you see, for not watching the mitzvahs of the Torah, it says the lashon of v'hiv haflo. It says the lashon haflo, which is Malkus. Haflo zu, that the pasuk says any yedei mahi. I don't know what it is, but Yeshuaima, when we find a lashon that's similar, but again, giving Malkus to a sinner, it says ve'ipila hashem v'yikol afnanav. The shevet will give him. Meaning the Pilo is referring to Malkus. Abiyayma Haflazu, that the pasuk says here, the Hifla Hashem es Makoscha is Malkus. It means Malkus. See, and it says Im Loisish Melasis is called Diviatri Hazes. So we learn out from here that the punishment of Malkus is for any mitzvah that he doesn't watch. So in this klal, you have all these Surim of the Torah included, even those that have the Chiv of Kodesh and Mrs. Bezdin. In fact, if it's including everything, the whole Torah, Chayavi Asei Nami, let us give Malkus for somebody who's even on a mitzvah say. And it's known that you don't give Malkus on somebody who's on a mitzvah say. And you want to know, it says only in the Lashon in Lois Yishmer Ksiv. And Uki Rabbi Yavin, Rabbi Eloi, Amar Rabbi Eloi, Amar Rabbi Yavin, Amar Rabbi Eli, Kol Makos Shenema Yishama Pen V'Al, Ein Elaloi Sasei. Whoever says the lashon Pen V'Al is only a Loi Sasei, and over here it says Loi. Loi is the same thing as Al. So you see the pasuk is the same. Only by a Loi Sasei no be Malkus, not by a say. In fact, if the lashon in Loi Sishma, the kavanah is Lav Shem say Ihachi so it refers to a lav. So let him be chayiv even for a lav Shem by Ma'isa Nami, even for a lav which there's no action. And we learned in many places that you don't get malchus on a lav where there is no Ma'isa. So the Gemara Lasos, everything about it because it says Lasos. Lasos means there has to be a loisas that with us, with a maisa. So you see, the pasuk is talking about an avera loisas that has a maisa. And so such a avera, you're going to be chayiv. The pasuk is being chayiv malchus. So let us say he's going to be chayiv even on a lav shanitik lasei. A lav that is corrected by a say. Nami should also be chayiv malchus for, and we know. Because it says in Loisish Malasis, it includes every Loisasei. But of course, you can't say Allah Shem Mais because it says Lases. But Allah Shem Lasei, he should be Chai Malchus for. And we know we have a cloud that we don't get Malchus on a lav that's corrected by a say. And for the Gemara, Dumya, the lav the Chasima, it has to be similar to the lav of Chasima, meaning that you're not allowed to muzzle the mouth of the shayr while he's threshing the tvua. The Torah was masbich, the iser of muzzling a shayr next to pashas of malchus. It's right next to each other to teach us that you're not going to be a chayiv malchus only a lav that's similar to the iser of chsima, and the iser chsima is not nitigla say. So from here we learn out what is the chayiv malchus on a lav shenitigla say, which is not similar to lav of chsima, because lav chsima is not nitigla say. It says the Gemara, once you're comparing malchus to only to what kind of a loisas, it's similar to the chsima. So we can answer all the questions from before. Now that you came to this answer, kulanami, even the previous questions, we asked mitzvah should be included. We can't because it has to be similar to chsima, which is a loisas, which is connected to malchus. And a lav shein by ma'isa has to be similar to the chsima. Chsima is not a lav sheyesh by ma'isa. And the lav shenit, and the last question that we asked is automatically answered. It's not a lav shenit lasei. Dumni lav chasima, similar to lav chasima. Take. We could have answered the previous questions that way, and we didn't have to have a special tirutz for each one. After we explain the reason of Rabbi Yishmael, what's the reason that he says Mrs. Basnin you don't get malchus? Says the Gemara, because it said the Lash Yachid. You could only punish him for one. For one, even if you could be mechayiv. You can't give him two punishments for the same avera. Therefore, somebody who's able avera, which is chayiv Mrs. Bezdin, you cannot give him malchus. You give him kimlei b'rabnei, Rabbi Yishmael. And what about Rabbi Yishmael, who says that even chayiv Mrs. Bezdin is included in the chiyuvei malchus? So how? The says kedei shasei. Hani Mili, what do we say that we don't punish by two punishments for one Aveda? That's Miso Mammon. It's two different categories. Malchus and Mammon, or it's Malchus and Mammon. Although Miso Malchus, but Miso Malchus, both of them is considered as Misa. It's Misa Richli. It's considered as one long Misa. And therefore Malchus is like the beginning of the Misa. So and that's why you can give both. Rabbi Akiva that says you can't be mechayiv misa and malchus because we don't do two punishments on one averi. Chayav krisis nami. For chayav krisis also you shouldn't get the punishment of malchus. And the Gemara, my Ahmed, what are you going to say to answer this kasha? The answer is because she must have tshuva, because it's possible to remove the curse that if he does tshuva, so it's not two punishments for one avera. In fact, the Gemara, but hashtami es lo yavdi. But as it stands now, he didn't yet do tshuva. So l'chayre, does she have to give malchus if he didn't do tshuva? Because So you're gonna have to. If he didn't do tshuva, how could you give him malchus if he still has the chiyuv of kares? So you see, he gets punished with 2 punishments for one single aveda. So the Gemara answers, the Torah exclude chayve krisus from the klal of 2 anshim for one aveda. Rabbi Avo said, the the Torah explicitly included malchus for chayve krisus. The Gama we learn out because it says le'enei, and which is by chiyuv kares, mi le'einecha, which is written by malchus. It says menichasu le'ene b'nei amom, that's kares. So you have le'ene, and by malchus it says v'nikla achicha le'einecha. So you have le'ene. Maskala Rabbi Abba Mammal, and that's how we learn with Xena Shava that they get malchus even by creases. Maskala Rabbi Abba Mammal, that's the question. If what Dashin say the Shava, Mrs. Beslan, let's learn out Mrs. Beslan. It says Me'ene by Chiyuv Misa, and Le'enecha it says by malchus. It says by Chiyuv Misa, im Me'ene Aida Nesa Lishgaga, by the Avodah Zarah, which is a Chiyuv Misa. And it says by malchus on Nikolach Le'enecha. So both of them say Le'enecha, and the other one says Me'ene, similar words. And for the Gemara, don't mean Le'ene Le'enecha. Le'ene from Le'enecha we can learn out because it's only one letter off, the line Chaf at the end. But Ve'en Don Me'ene Le'enecha. But we cannot learn out from Me'ene from Le'enecha, because Me'ene, you have a mem, which is different than Le'enecha, which starts off with a lamed, and it ends off, Le'enecha ends off with a line versus Me'ene is with a yud. Then you better mind, how is this any different between the why do we make such an issue, meaning for such a little minute letter to say we can't make a Ksei Shabbat? Well, Tanit Vei Rabbi Yishmael, we learned in the Braisa from the base medrash of Rabbi Yishmael. It says in one pasuk Shabbat Kohen, it says that the Kohen shall return, and another pasuk it says Ubar Kohen, and Zuhi Shiva, Zuhi Bia. The word Vishav Ubar are is similar implications, and therefore we can learn out what Ksei Shabbat and one compared to the other. And he brings down the dinim that are said in these psukim, that it says over there, Benegeya to a house that they saw, I think it's a house, that the Kohen closes up the house, and he comes back after the end of the week and he checks it. So in the first pasuk it says, V'shava Kohen. And if the Kohen returned after the first week of closing the house and he saw that the negab spread, then you have to remove the stone from the walls and the plaster around it, and then plaster the house with new plaster. Then it says in the second pasuk Ubah HaKoyin. Over there it says that the Kohen comes and the nega didn't spread in the first week that they closed. It doesn't say b'feish what's the din at the end of the second week. So the Braisa learns out what it says in Shava, that if it did spread in the second week, that he has to do the same thing exactly like he did in the first week. So you see, you learn in Shava even from words that are different. In fact, let us learn out. That says by Mrs. Bezdin, Mila Einay. That says by Chayav Krisis, because there's no 2 deficiencies. The only difference is by Me'ene is written by Misa, and Le'ene is written by Chayav Krisis. And then, and the Hagamor Le'ene Mile'enecha. And once you're learning out from Kares, and Kares we learn out that there's Malchus from Le'enecha by Malchus. So the Gemara accepts the kashas of Rabbi Abba Mammal, and he answers in a different way. The Shita Rabbi Rabbi Shmuel Rabbi Yitzchak. Rabbi Shmuel Rabbi Yitzchak accepted from Rabbi Abba Mammal these questions, and he was masking. And therefore Rabbi Shmuel Rabbi Yitzchak explained the Shita of Rabbi Akiva in another way. says in the Torah that he gets malchus, the chayda gets malchus, from here we learn out you can only be mechayim for one aveda, one punishment for one aveda, not two punishments for one aveda. The pasuk is talking about a malchus, which is a punishment that's given to the bezdin. So this that the pasuk is excluding, that you're not mechayim two punishments on one for one aveda, is not by einish that bezdin implements. And so now we can understand the Shita Rabbi Akiva. Chiyuve Mrs. Bezdin is excluded in this pasuk from Malchus, because the Misa is a punishment that's implemented by Bezdin. Chayve Kisus is not excluded because it's not implemented by Bezdin. It's B'nai Shamayim. And therefore Rabbi Akiva said Chayve Kisus is included in the Malchus Habayim. The Gemara brings a different beer for the Machlokes between Rabbi Yishmael and Rabbi Akiva, Rabbi Amar. If he warned him, the one that's doing Aveda, which has Misa's Bezdin, he gets Misa, he gets Misa. Kuli Amalei Pligi, Sai Rabbi Yishmael, Sai Rabbi Akiva, don't argue, they ain't Loiko Mace. He doesn't get Malchus and also dies. Keep Pligi. Where is Rabbi Yishmael, Rabbi Akiva arguing? The Asabei, the Malchus. They only warned him about the Malchus part, but they didn't warn him about the Misa part. In such a case, they don't kill the one that did the Aveda. So there's no two punishments. So Rabbi Shmuel, Rabbi Akiva are arguing if there is Einish Malchus. Rabbi Shmuel saw a lav shenitim lahazharas, a lav that's given for a warning for Aveda that you chayv Mrs. Bezdin, like in the lav, you'd still get Malchus. Rabbi Akiva saw a lav shenitim lahazharas Mrs. Bezdin ain't like in the lav. But a lav that was given for Azharas Mrs. Bezdin, for that you don't get Malchus. So Rabbi Yishmael saw a lav shenit Azharas Mrs. Bezdin, a lav which was made to warn for Mrs. Bezdin, like in a lav, he still gets Malchus. Rabbi Akiva saw a lav shenit Azharas Mrs. Bezdin, like in a lav, he doesn't get Malchus, because the lav that he has to be warned about, he has to be warned about Misa, not about Malchus. Rabbi Akiva holds the lav that's which is being used as a warning for Einish Misa, you don't get Malchus for it. Even in a case where he warned him for Malchus alone, the Torah is not Mechayiv Misa without a Hazara. So we find that this lav had to be written in order to be Mechayiv a Misa. So this lav is not like a regular lav that's used normally as a warning for Malchus. This lav is azhara from Mrs. Bezdin, and therefore, since he wasn't warned for azhara Mrs. Bezdin, therefore there's no Malchus. So the Gemara Rabbi Akiva, according to Shita Rabbi Akiva, Ihachi so. Chayavei Krisus Nami shouldn't get Malchus because it's a lav Shittel Hazar's Karisu, because the lav is the warning is supposed to go down his Karis, so it cannot be used for Malchus. So why did Rabbi Akiva say in the Braisa that Chayav Krisus is included in the Einish of Malchus? I'm sorry. So said Avini from Hagrania in the name of Rava. Chayav Kis Leitzich Asa. Chayav Kis do not need Asa. So since it doesn't need Asa, so for Kari, so you can use the lav as for Malchus. And where do we see Chayav Kis doesn't need Asa? Shay Pesach. The mitzvah come Pesach, or mitzvah Mila. Onish, the Pesach punishes with Karis for not performing a Mila or the Kabbalah Pesach, even though there wasn't a Azhara. So you see, Einish Karis doesn't need a warning. And therefore the law that says by Chayv Krisus could be used, that Azhara, for a warning for Malchus. Perhaps that you can part the Chayv Malchus, because perhaps Azhara by Chayv Krisus you need in order to be mechayiv a carbon chatas. That's what you need asara for the carbon. The Pesach Mila, even by the mitzvah Pesach Mila, the less will asara. where there is no hazara for somebody who's mavatalit, loy maisi carbon. He doesn't bring a carbon. He's chayv cases, but he doesn't have to bring a carbon. So maybe where there is hazara by chayv cases, we should say it's for the carbon, because by Pesach Mila where there's no hazara, he does not bring a carbon. He says you want to hustle him day by Pesach Mila, lav haino time. That's not the reason why they don't bring a carbon for not performing Mila or bringing the carbon Pesach. Only because the whole trader is compared to Havin Tzichem. Ma, just like the Chiyuv comes by Havin Tzichem is a Isa of Shev Al Taisa. Sit and don't do. All Avedas upon which your Chayv Achatis is on Avedas Shal Shev Al Taisa. Sit and don't do. Lafukehani, to exclude Pesach Mila, the Kumba say these are mitzvahs that the Torah says get up and perform. Like bring a cup of Pesach, circumcise your Mila. So the Kaddish that says by somebody who withholds and doesn't do, that's the reason that they don't bring a carbon on these Avedas, because it's not similar to the Isa of Aveda Zara, which is only Shev Al Taisa. Ravina says, remember the reason Rabbi Akiva is like we originally said, that they don't give by Chayv Mises, Bezdin, because you can't give two punishments for one Aveda. And this that Rabbi Akiva gives Malchus by Chayv Mises, like he said before, she must have true Bezdin, Shamayla Mekloem. Because if he would do tshuva, Bezdin Shamayla would forgive him. My Amrit. So what are you going to say? Halay of it that the tshuva, but as of now he didn't do yet tshuva. So how could you say you'll give him Malchus if he's still Chayv Kares? Says since it's not a vade that is Chayv Kares, because he's able to depart it with tshuva, therefore you can give him Malchus. It's only by if the punishment is definite that he's going to be Chayv Kares that you won't give him Malchus.